Hello guys, I'm so excited that I finally have just received my new book, which is Training, Nutrition, Supplementation in Bodybuilding. You can purchase this book on Amazon. In this book, you're going to find basics regarding how to eat, how to work out, and what supplements to use in bodybuilding, and along with my other book, which is already available, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, actually speaks about drug use, which is the improved version of my very first book, The PEDs Used in Sports. Somebody has the whole package of knowledge in order to fulfill his targets. Thank you so far for the positive feedback and the good comments, and I hope you do like it.
Hey everybody, welcome to Ask Dr. Testosterone, starring Dr. George Touliatos, brought to you by his two books. You need both of them, guys. The first one was Bodybuilding, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Great overview of all the different PEDs used in bodybuilding and in recreational world. And of course, the sequel written during quarantine, Training, Nutrition, Supplementation in Bodybuilding. You put all that together and that's how you get a tremendous physique. And of course, I always plug my book. It was written back in the day, but it's still a really good book, guys. I promise you. Real bodybuilding, muscle truths from 25 years in the trenches. And now from Athens, Greece, please welcome Dr. T, Dr. George Touliatos. How are you, Doctor?
Fine, Ron. Thank you.
So,
at the Europe or so, and it was it was a Greek rookie.
Yeah.
30-year-old guy. He was a huge guy, 5'10", 260.
Wow.
Yeah, he looked really good in his room, even though he was not tanned, He looked really ripped with striations, at least in the front. But I guess it was kind of blurry, as you said, in the video.
Yeah.
But everybody looks smoother and softer in the video than in reality.
Yeah.
But I don't know what I mean. There's not enough oil. It was not good tanning, but he had good size.
Yeah.
He can improve some points like his back, for instance, but he had good legs, arms. He improved his midsection because back 2 years ago in the Nationals, he had a bubble gut that he reversed.
Oh, wow.
And actually, this boy, 10 years ago, exactly, November 2010,
Yeah.
he had his first competition as a junior.
Wow.
So he's been, yes, a tremendous, improvement. He was back then 95 kilograms. I guess there was 115 or 120, something
Wow.
like that.
What's his name?
It's Dimitris, and the rest is a big one.
I remember.
Like,
can you say the whole last name? Let me hear you say it.
Tripoliziotti.
Because I tried. I was reading. I was doing the play-by-play, and all I wrote was Dimitri because the rest of it. When you type on your phone, it auto-corrects, and it won't let you finish like a weird name. And it just kept correcting me. I said, just put Dimitris from Greece. But
yes, Dimitris T, actually. We have the same surname with starting T.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, and there's another show in 5 weeks or in 1 month, I think. And the other Greek guy, Chris Pistolas, will compete there.
Yeah, I know Chris very well.
And it's his third show, actually. He will come lighter. He will be around 235, 240 perhaps.
Yeah.
He's 5'9". But he has good maturity,
Yeah.
And we shall see.
Yeah. This Europa Pro was a very, very tough lineup because it was the only pro show that in Europe this year that you could qualify for the Olympia.
Top three, the next Olympia, the top three actually.
So a ton of people came out. Not only that, but they had a pro qualifier going on for 3 full days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and a ton of those people ended up in the pro show. I'm sorry, so it was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and a bunch of those, I'd say about 40 or 50 of those amateurs that turned pro, they all did the pro show Sunday. It was a ton of great competitors. Yeah. So hats off to Emilio Martinez for putting on that show, because I know Spain recently has had a lot of COVID spikes in Madrid and everything. So
they were wearing masks, right?
Yeah, when they were individual on stage, no mask, but anytime they were up there with other athletes, they all had to have a mask on. And you could see some of them were really struggling. Some of them were, I don't think they're used to wearing masks, or maybe, they only wear it in certain places because they were huffing and puffing and pulling it down so they could breathe through their nose, which defeats the whole purpose of a mask, right? Anyway, yeah, but a great show. And James Holling said, congratulations, he won. Big Ramy would have won that show, but, COVID, he got COVID. Mm.
You think he did it on purpose because he was not ready about the definition?
That's a big debate right now. You know, a lot of people think he faked it because he wasn't ready, but that one picture that he posted, it was just the hands on hip most muscular. You just saw the upper body. It was good enough. That would have been good enough to win because he's Big Ramy. You know, he's so big and freaky. He would have won anyway. But you think he's just embarrassed? He would have been embarrassed to look, you know, that much worse.
I heard that also. I heard that he pulled off on purpose.
Yeah, we don't know. We'll never know. Only Ramy and his
unless he gets an invitation, special.
He will.
He will, huh?
Don't you think he will? I think he will.
Oh yeah.
You know who else? Who else would you give an invitation to?
We said the top 5 from last Olympia.
Yeah, well, Kukla missed top 5. Steve Kukla was 6th place.
Oh, really? He was also 4th in the Arnold Classic.
Right. So I think Steve Kukla deserves an invite. He's very, very good. I would invite Ramy and Kukla if I was the promoter. Yeah, I would.
Well, Kai Green also, yes, of course, Rodin, but if they're in shape, you know.
Yeah. Well, Ramy will be in shape for the Olympia. You know, he'll get through this COVID and whatever. But
Kai Green too, but the point is, if he's satisfied with the package he has.
Kai's doing so many other things. I don't think we're ever going to see Kai Green again, which is too bad. He's one of the greatest bodybuilders of my lifetime, Kai Green.
But if Phil Heath managed to win the 8th, you think the competition 2020 is higher than last year?
Yeah, this year's Olympia, if everybody gets over, like Hadi Choopan and all these guys, William Bonac, if everybody gets over,
but Hadi has to get a visa. You know, all the international guys.
Right, and they have to quarantine in, I think, Mexico or Canada for 2 weeks before they can come into the U.S.
We'll see. I think the elections will will tell about the COVID vaccine and how are they going to handle it.
Well, the big joke in the U.S. for the past 6 months has been COVID's going to go away on Wednesday after the election, where it's not going to be, no one's going to talk about COVID anymore. Like it was a big political stunt
agenda.
Yeah, but it's not a hoax. People really, I do know people who have lost family members to COVID. I know it's a very real thing. But you know, young, healthy people it's Europe, US, all over the world. It's the young people that are spreading COVID, and it's the old people that are dying of COVID. That seems to be the pattern. But well, doctor, we need to get to some questions because this was another week. Let's see. And as always, if there's any questions you don't want to answer, pass. Just say nah. Here's a good one. So this guy hurt his bicep. He wants to know what is the best regimen to heal a bicep tendon strain along with rest, ice, etc. Just finished prednisone and it still aches. I have GH and MK677 on hand, but want to make sure I'm not missing anything. What do you think?
Yes, you can add some TB500, which is also a peptide. It is a critical that helps to regenerate soft tissues.
Okay.
IGF-1 also does similar job to growth hormone, but IGF-1 is more specific for muscle hypertrophy. And of course, to supplement with the essential amino acids.
Yeah.
Okay, and glutamine, of course, because it's the most abundant amino acid in skeletal muscle, being a positive nitrogen balance. Okay. He can take also some extra collagen because collagen is also present in muscle tissue.
Yeah.
Okay, the perimysium, this is the fascia, you know, that we stretch. So everything is important. Also ascorbic acid that forms collagen, you know. All the nutrients are really important for this anabolic effect, you know. And of course, rest. Do not overdo physical therapy, you know.
Don't be trying to do a cheat curl with 150. All right. Well, thank you. Kidney health. What supplements does the doctor suggest for kidney health while on and off cycles?
Well, for kidney, they're not specifically supplements. Well, we can say that there are some supplements for urinary tract, which is actually cranberry that helps with the urinary tract and especially ureters to avoid cystitis or infection of the urinary bladder and also the ureters. But for kidneys, it's really essential to hydrate, to keep the blood pressure low, so avoid extra sodium, avoid too much of stimulants, and avoid also trembolone that hurts the glomerulus by elevating blood pressure. We know that blood pressure hits the glomerulus, which is the filter, and then when the filter is broken down, then protein passes through the urine, and there's a problem with that.
Gotcha.
So I have abused in my life Trenbolone. The point is, because of zero salt, because of excessive cardio, and perhaps because I never ate junk. And of course, yes, I also use stimulants, but my blood pressure was never really high. Even though I was using clenbuterol, it was never higher than 14 to 15 systolic. I mean, 14, yes, it's high,
Wow.
but never been higher than that. So my kidney function is pretty good, And perhaps if you abuse creatine monohydrate also, it can elevate creatinine, during the loading phase. So you need to be conservative with creatine and use the 5-gram dose,
Yeah. Until maybe 2 or 3 years ago when I was doing a show with Dr. O'Connor talking, I don't know who we were talking to about their kidney. Maybe it was Fakhri Mubarak, but I didn't even realize that untreated, high blood pressure harms your kidneys. I didn't even know that. Yeah.
Actually, this is how Trenbolone is nasty on the kidneys, because it elevates blood pressure.
Who knew? Okay. Blood work question. I have a question regarding blood work during and after a cycle. How important is it to keep an eye on the Esteron as well as the Estriol, apart from the Estrodiol? What are the optimal ratios of these estrogens?
So we have three estrogen, three forms of estrogen. We have E1, Estrone, E2, beta-estradiol, and E3, Estriol. Now, the main representative in men is the E2, which is beta-estradiol. And I have also examined myself E1 and E3, but nothing is more important than E2. Okay, so elevated estrogens mainly represent the elevated estradiol, okay, 3-digital. And the other two, E1 and E3, are mainly for women, But for men, we keep an eye on E2, okay, and beta-estradiol. Right. So don't worry that much. Besides, there are rare examinations that take some time to be, to have the results. Beta-estradiol, you can have it in the same afternoon if you take the blood in the morning, but E1 and E3 needs a little bit of more days in order to have the result. But it doesn't make any great difference if you have higher E1, E3 rather than having higher E2. Okay.
Yeah.
So to me, prolactin and E2 are the main factors that we should look about having a tissue tenderness in mammary gland,
Yeah.
And also super low DHT has a low role because DHT has an antiestrogenic effect. So we need DHT to keep the estrogens low,
Yeah. Okay, cool. Next one is, what do you think of using low dose of oxandralone, 2 or 3 milligrams, to regulate high SHBG for people who have good total testosterone but low bioavailability? Here in Brazil, we have no proviron. I already tried to change the testosterone dosages and routes, but my SHBG is above 60 and it does not lower. The rest of my exams, so the rest of his blood work is fine. He's just concerned about this high SHBG. So would
yes,
low
this guy has
dose?
a point. Yes, this guy has a point indeed, that oxandrolone and all the DHT derivatives can do the job of DHT itself, which is proviron. But he can also use drostanolone, which is also synthetic injectable DHT. He can also use a minor androgen, which is DHEA. And he can also use boron, which is a supplement, a metal that has similar abilities in order to bind the SHBG. Plus, there are some also secondary factors like fish oil and vitamin D that can also do similar job. Another way, is to increase testosterone dose. So by elevating your TRT dose can lower SHBG. And most important, do 1 large dose every Monday instead of microdosing. Okay, so let's say you're shooting 250 per week, 100 twice. Do this 200 milligrams once a week. Okay, and the following 2 days will crash on SHBG. You're gonna feel much better. Another way to do this by diet is do frequent meals every 2 hours, because insulin will lower SHBG.
Okay.
So do not stay hungry and skipping meals by IF or keto diet, because SHBG will elevate in the absence of insulin.
Intermittent fasting. We'll talk about that another day, but I don't like intermittent fasting.
Yeah, Steve Blackman also says that it lowers IGF-1 because when no insulin is low, IGF-1 also is low, so it's not a good idea.
Not if you're trying to be a bodybuilder, I don't think. Yeah. Maybe for regular human beings. Here's a couple supplements you talk about all the time. Could you explain the use and benefits of DHEA and
Pregnenolone, yes.
pregnenolone? I want to make. Yeah.
Is a
How much should they
secondary
use?
antigen, yes, from adrenal glands. We should supplement this, but after 40, if this guy is young, he doesn't need to, unless he has sex drive issues right after a cycle. Perhaps elevated SHBG. But you should supplement as anti-aging and age management strategies with DHEA, both sexes, men and women, according to the DHEAS levels, preferably twice a day. And pregnenolone now is a neurosteroid that metabolizes to progesterone. And actually, it's the first conversion of cholesterol to pregnenolone, then progesterone. And then finally, we end up in testosterone and DHT. So it has some benefits for calming down the nervous system in order to sleep. And there's some also some evidence that it may improve the sperm, it may mature the sperm. But anyway, it's a neurosteroid, pregnenolone, and it's safer to take pregnenolone rather than taking progesterone. Progesterone also has positive effect in sleep in men and also in sperm. So I take pregnenolone and DHEA 25 twice a day, AM and PM, okay? One with breakfast and one before going to bed.
Okay. Same dose for pregnenolone?
Yes.
Okay. Is that in a pill?
Yes, capsule.
Okay.
Also, you can find it over the counter in US in tablets, I think. It's a supplement available in online.
Yeah, I mean, DHEA, we can buy that anywhere. I didn't know you could buy pregnenolone. I'll look into that. Here's a good one. I've been out of the gym for 15 months. Wow, a year and 3 months with back-to-back shoulder surgeries and then COVID-19 for dessert. Boy, dude, you must have broken a mirror. Anyway, going to start a small cycle now. Test SIP 250, EQ 200, both 1 cc twice a week, possibly an oral. I have D-ball, Anadrol, T-ball, methyltren as orals I can use. The M-trend probably won't get used. What do you think a decent dosage to use on the orals for a 10-week cycle?
Well, these orals are, this guy speaks like there are candies, I have this, I have that.
Dude, he's got all this stuff, man. Wow. I got to hang out with people like this.
He didn't train for quite some time. So he needs first to warm up the engines and then put the gear, Otherwise, it's not working this way. Anyway, mind that those steroids are liver toxic, 17 alkylated. So take it easy, use them sublingually 3 times a day, small doses. And do not combine both together, okay? So Anadrol and turinabol or dianabol is not a good idea to do them simultaneously together. So one after the other. So let's say 4 weeks the one and another 4 weeks, but 1 month is already enough to use the orals,
Yeah. What's a small dose in your opinion?
30 milligrams, split it in 3 doses of 10,
Okay.
Make sure the one is pre-workout and the other are in a window of 8 hours,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay. Good deal. What is more potent with HGH? So if someone's using growth hormone, what's more potent to use with it to increase IGF-1? Should they use insulin or IGF-1 LR3?
Well, I guess IGF-1 itself,
Yeah.
it will further spike, yes.
Yeah.
LR3 is supposed to be slower activity, but yes, IGF-1 itself. But the point is, you're going to spike that much IGF-1 that is not, the contradiction would be if you have a family history of cancer or cancer itself. Of course, you don't administrate GH or IGF-1 in cancer itself,
Wow.
Yes, but it's the holy grail of muscle growth,
IGF-1.
It's the most anabolic compound hormone in the universe.
Price-wise, it's more expensive than growth hormone, correct?
Not in Greece.
Not in Greece.
Growth hormone is really expensive, but you know we don't find pharmaceutical grade. I know a pharmaceutical grade Increlex of IGF-1 that's really expensive. It's $800.
Right.
Costs a lot.
Yeah.
So yes, pharma grade, because we're talking about now underground labs that come in very cheap. But yes, you have a right that Increlex is super expensive. Yes.
Yeah. In fact, I heard in a seminar one time there was some guy in Europe who was selling Increlex. He supplied most of the pros in America, and they called this guy Mr. Increlex. I don't know what his real name was. I don't want to know what his real name was.
I have two friends that one is in London, another is in Stuttgart, and they both use Increlex.
Wow.
They're both amateurs, but they have serious gains. Yes.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, for that money, you better, right? Okay. This is kind of a longer question. What is the right way to take blood work to check if your HGH is real? I've been using 3 IU of genotropin from Pfizer every morning for 5 weeks. I did 3 IU 2 hours before my blood was drawn last week. My IGF-1 came back pretty normal, ml/OL, where the reference range is 5 to 28. My baseline was around 18 prior to any HGH use. Also, my potassium levels were a bit elevated when it came back, and my liver enzyme ALAT was above normal, something that's never happened before when on test or other roids. Shouldn't my IGF-1 levels have been higher if it was real HGH I got? And does HGH or other peptides elevate potassium and liver enzymes? I've been told that to get elevated IGF levels from HGH, I should pin as little as 20 minutes before blood work. 2 to 3 hours was too long, and my IGF would go back to normal by then. So what's right? He wants to know, is my GH real?
So to myself, when I inject GH, I make sure, of course, I have run with GH for 1 week in order to have some decent levels in my blood. Also, do it twice a day to have more stable levels.
Yep.
And also do it in a fasted state and leave 30 minutes window in order to drop the blood from the GH, because the half-life of IGF-1 is 30 minutes. And mind that in 2 hours, we have the maximum potency of GH, and then in 36 hours, it gets out of the system. That's what the literature says.
Yeah.
So I did a test to myself. I was injecting high doses, let's say 7, 8 IUs of pharma-grade GH. And my IGF-1 was really high. But when I also used 2 IUs, 1 and 1, the IGF-1 was also high, so was not that much. But the point is that was elevated within optimal range, but to the upper, okay? But when you abuse GH, it goes higher. But if you want to play it safe with GH, doesn't mean that the IGF-1 will not elevate above. The point is it will exceed the upper limit, okay? So no matter if it's legitimate, yes, it will elevate, but not over the higher limit,
Okay.
So something goes wrong with this GH, I guess.
Well, it's probably fake. Okay.
Another thing, I'm sorry. Another thing is to count to measure IGF-1 binding protein 3. This is also something that elevates under exogenous use of growth hormone. All right. Now about the potassium, perhaps this guy has some rhabdomyolysis. That means overtraining, that muscles deliberate as they rupture, they liberate potassium because it's the main intracellular element. This is my speculation on why potassium is elevated by too much of training.
Rhabdomyolysis. That's a lot of CrossFitters get that, rhabdo.
Bodybuilders also. This is what Arnold used to say. I'm extremely sore.
Yeah, well, he trained a lot, so that makes sense.
He went to the goods. He was squatting with trees, and said the day after my thighs were 1 inch larger.
Oh God, those stories about him, he'd be out in the woods with girls and beer and squatting, and wow, that sounds like a great time. But here's a good one. Guy says, I will be visiting Greece this month. I wanted to ask the doctor, can I buy testosterone, Pregnil, Deca, and Arimidex from the Greek pharmacy without a prescription?
Yes, he has chances to buy, with the exception of DECA requires prescription, but it's up to the pharmacist. But to be honest with you, at the moment there's a shortage of DECA.
Oh,
My patients, yes, tell me half an hour ago. Once DECA, he's disabled, he's how you say, crippled,
yeah.
and he needs DECA for his recovery,
Hmm.
And it's hard to find. Some pharmacies have one piece, others have two pieces. So you have to collect all around the town,
Yeah, wow.
And you can get the rest, yes, pretty easily.
Hmm.
Plus aromatase inhibitors, SERMs, diuretics, testosterone, proviron. Yes, you can get them without prescription.
A shortage of DECA. What happened? What do you think happened?
I think it was the summertime, the bodybuilders.
I think it would have been Tren, a shortage of Tren, but you can't buy Tren there. Okay, well, that makes sense. I mean, DECA's great. DECA goes so well with tests and for the joints and everything. Okay, last question, doctor. Question, my blood work, my RDW, red cell distribution width, came back high. Is this a side effect of testosterone? And how can I lower it?
No, it has nothing to do with this. No. It has to do with the platelets. And actually, it shows how far platelets are one to another, So don't worry about this. There's some minority reports for the blood work, but it has nothing to do with testosterone. No.
Wow. Okay. Well, doctor, that's all our questions. We got one more show to qualify for the Olympia. I'm going to be there. It's the Chicago Pro, but it's not in Chicago.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
So it's not over with qualifications, huh?
One more show. That's it. One more.
So what about Rami? Can he compete there?
If he could get here, if he could get to America.
Oh, yeah, because he's out of the States, yes.
Yeah, yes. I don't think any of these, I was hoping that some of these people from the Europa show that didn't win would come over here, but I know you can't just decide like right now, I'm going to go to USA.
When is Chicago Pro?
It's Friday and Saturday this week. So they can't, it takes longer than that. They got to get paperwork and document.
It's only a domestic thing, eh? Steve Kuklo, perhaps?
No, I don't think Steve's prepping for it. Akim Williams, Nick Walker, Justin Rodriguez.
But Steve should be, if he wants to compete for the Olympia, he should be now preparing, right?
If he is, he's keeping it very, very secret. Nobody knows. Maybe I'd love to see him in there. I want everybody in every show. I'm just greedy that way. I hope Rami. I'd love to see Rami. You kidding me? Whew. Big Rami jump into a show like that. That'd be great. That'd be big news, huge news. But yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I think Rami's going to get an invite. We'll see.
Last year we were begging about Phil to come back,
Yeah.
And now you see how precious it is to there, how difficult it is by the circumstances.
Yeah. I mean, I hope, like I said, I hope everyone from Europe is able to get over and Persia, Iran.
Well, if this happens, then I will come for the Olympia also.
Only if those guys, yeah.
You mean only the athletes, huh?
No. But
as a visitor myself,
I think they're going to have 50% capacity for seating. They haven't made any announcements, but I bet it's going to be like
really
50%. Yeah.
Only, yeah.
They can't have full capacity. There's no way. There's nothing in the USA that has full capacity where people are sitting next to each other. Nothing. So, what about Greece? Do you have concerts? Are your movie theaters open?
No, they're shut off.
Everything's shut down still, yeah. And I mean,
last year was 8,000 was packed, huh?
Yeah. So I mean, even if they let 4,000 people in, even if they let like 4,000 people in, that's a good crowd. It's not.
But they made good money last year, and also the Arnold, they sold out.
The Arnold, they lost. Sure.
Well, they got the money. They didn't reimburse them, but they got the money for the booths.
Right. Yeah. I think it's been a tough year for promoters, but hopefully, we're hoping this is all going to be back to normal. I don't know when, by springtime, right? This has been a long year, Doc. Long year.
There is an official date for next Arnold.
It's always the same. They know when it's going to be. It's always
first week of March. Yes.
First weekend of March. Yeah, they've been doing it that way for 30 years, so they're not going to stop now. Cool. Well, Doctor, thank you so much, guys. If you have questions for the doctor, please leave them in the comments here below. If you're watching this on YouTube, Try not to make them too long. We don't need a whole life story. Stick to what's relevant, please, because we want to get to a lot of questions and help a lot of people. The doctor is very generous with his time and his knowledge. We appreciate you guys watching, but we definitely want to be able to help as many of you as possible, and that's how we do it. So that's it, Doctor. Thank you so much for taking the time. Appreciate it very much. And that's it. Guys, thanks for watching Ask Dr. Testosterone with Dr. George Tsouliados. We'll see you next time.